Have you ever stopped to wonder if a song can be dangerous? I don't mean dangerous in a makes you dance like a fool kind of way. I mean truly dangerous. Dangerous enough to trigger a federal investigation? Welcome back. I'm the Memory Keeper. The 1960s. Oh, that wasn't just a decade. It was a cultural earthquake. On one side, you had the old guard, the neat suits and the quiet conformity. And on the other side, well, there was us. There was long hair, the roar of an electric guitar, and a generation screaming for change. And our weapon, our battleground, was the radio. On this journey, we're going to unearth some buried sonic artifacts, songs that were banned for being too bold, too honest, or in some cases, just plain misunderstood. We'll talk about how the FBI spent 2 years investigating a garage rock song because no one could understand the lyrics, and how one of the most beautiful love songs ever written was blacklisted, all for daring to use the word God. So, turn up the volume, take a deep breath of that air of freedom and rebellion. Join me as we turn back the clock to a time when 3 minutes of music could truly shake the world. Number 13, Brown-Eyed Girl, Van Morrison, 1967. A brown-eyed girl. It's almost unbelievable that a song as pure and sun-drenched as Brown-Eyed Girl, a perfect anthem for endless summer, could land on this list. The secret is hidden in a single, evocative line that made the censors of 1967 blush, making love in the green grass. At the time, any suggestion of premarital sex on the airwaves was strictly forbidden. Many radio stations demanded an edited version, replacing the offending line with a mumbled, nonsensical verse. A brown-eyed girl. The irony is that this controversy was almost overshadowed by a behind-the-scenes tragedy. Van Morrison, due to a terribly one-sided contract he signed as a young artist, has famously never seen a penny in royalties from this massive, enduring hit. Brown-Eyed Girl is thus a sonic artifact of 2 different kinds of 60s censorship, the moralistic and the corporate. It remains a ray of pure sunshine, even if it carries a dark cloud of history with it. From the gentle suggestion of a summer afternoon, we now journey into a fog of suspicion, where a magical dragon became a symbol of parental paranoia. My brown-eyed girl. Number 12, Puff the Magic Dragon, Peter, Paul, and Mary, 1963. Oh, Puff the Magic Dragon live. This might be the most famous case of censorship by imagination in music history. Puff the Magic Dragon is, at its heart, a gentle, melancholic fairy tale about the loss of childhood innocence, about an imaginary friend left behind as we grow up. But in the paranoid atmosphere of the 1960s, many adults heard something else entirely. Puff was assumed to be about puffing on a marijuana joint. Jackie Paper was supposedly rolling papers. The land of Honolulu was misinterpreted as a coded reference to a part of Hawaii known for its potent pot. The song's writers, Peter Yarrow and Leonard Lipton, were flabbergasted, repeatedly and vehemently denying these claims, insisting the song was about nothing more than childhood. But that didn't stop countless radio stations and schools from banning the song, terrified it was poisoning the minds of the youth. Puff became an unwilling victim of the generation gap, a perfect example of how innocence can be twisted when viewed through a lens of fear. From innocence misunderstood, we move to a bold and direct question from a young woman's perspective, a question that challenged social norms before the women's liberation movement even had a name. Number 11, Will You Love Me Tomorrow, The Shirelles, 1960. When the Shirelles, for young women from New Jersey, sang that heartbreaking question, Will you still love me tomorrow? They were doing more than just singing a pop song. They were lighting a cultural fuse. Written by the legendary duo Carole King and Jerry Goffin, it was the first song by a black all-girl group to hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. More importantly, it was one of the first voices on the radio to directly address a sensitive topic, female sexuality and vulnerability. The lyrics, while not explicit, carry the undeniable weight of the morning after. Is this a lasting treasure, or just a moment's pleasure? For the conservative society of the early 60s, this was a radical question to ask out loud. Numerous radio stations refused to play the track, claiming it encouraged premarital sex. Despite the bans, the song became an instant classic, cracking open the door for more honest conversations about love and womanhood in popular music. A question about earthly love caused an uproar, but what happens when a song dares to put the name of the Almighty himself in the title of a pop song? Number 10. God Only Knows. The Beach Boys, 1966. God only knows what I'd be without you. Today, we rightly regard God Only Knows as one of the great pop symphonies, a masterpiece of Brian Wilson's singular genius. But in 1966, using the word God in the title of a secular pop song was an act of profound audacity. Brian Wilson himself worried that the song would never get radio play. And he was, in part, correct. In many conservative parts of the United States, radio programmers banned the song, considering it blasphemous. God only knows what I'd be without. The supreme irony is that the song isn't religious at all. It's a declaration of a love so deep, so profound, that only a divine being could possibly understand the emptiness its absence would create. The track's melodic complexity, advanced harmonic structure, and Carl Wilson's ethereal vocal performance ultimately transcended the controversy. God Only Knows proved that sublime artistry can overcome the most narrow-minded prejudices, and it is remembered today not for the ban, but for its pure, untouchable beauty. From spiritual controversy, we plunge into a world of chaotic surrealism, where John Lennon decided to create a musical puzzle just to mess with the overanalyzers. Number 9. I Am the Walrus. The Beatles, 1967. I am he as you are, he as you are, me and we are. I Am the Walrus is a psychedelic masterpiece of gobbledygook, a whirlwind of nonsensical imagery and lyrical non-sequiturs. And that was exactly John Lennon's intent. After receiving a letter from a student at his old grammar school explaining how a teacher was having the class analyze Beatles lyrics, Lennon decided to write the most impenetrably bizarre song he could imagine. He succeeded. The Eggman. They are the Eggman. That very strangeness, however, was the source of its controversy. The BBC banned the song from its airwaves, not for any specific message, but because it was deemed too weird and contained the word knickers. The lyrics were also seen as a general endorsement of a chaotic, drug-fueled worldview that stood against social order. I Am the Walrus is a sonic artifact from the peak of the Beatles' psychedelic period, an artistic middle finger to the establishment, and a declaration that sometimes music doesn't have to make sense to be brilliant. If I Am the Walrus was a deliberate puzzle, our next song was a mystery that the band itself furiously denied, an acronym that became the stuff of legend. I am the Eggman. They are the Eggmen. Number 8. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. The Beatles, 1967. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. The moment Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was released, it didn't take long for listeners to notice. The first letters of the nouns in the title, Lucy, Sky, Diamonds, spelled out LSD. The hallucinatory lyrics about tangerine trees, marmalade skies, and a girl with kaleidoscope eyes only seemed to confirm that this was an ode to the psychedelic drug experience. The BBC promptly banned the song from its airwaves. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. John Lennon vehemently denied this interpretation until the day he died, insisting the true inspiration was a nursery school drawing by his young son, Julian, of a classmate named Lucy. Whatever the truth may be, the controversy became inseparable from the song's legacy. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds became a defining symbol of the psychedelic revolution in music, a portal into the colorful, drifting inner world of the late 60s, whether you believe John's story or not. The Beatles used ambiguity to slip past the censors, but their friendly rivals, the Rolling Stones, chose a more direct approach, confrontation. And the stage for that showdown was national television.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
Number 7. Let's Spend the Night Together. The Rolling Stones, 1967. The Rolling Stones were never ones for subtlety. When they sang, "Let's spend the night together," that's exactly what they meant. But in 1967, that direct proposition was a shock to the moral standards of American television. Ed Sullivan, the host of the most powerful variety show in the country, demanded that the band change the lyric to the far more palatable, "Let's spend some time together" for their appearance. During the live broadcast, Mick Jagger famously rolled his eyes with theatrical contempt as he sang the censored line, a subtle act of defiance that became legendary. The incident wasn't just about a sensitive lyric. It was a clash between the burgeoning youth culture and the old guard of the media establishment. "Let's Spend the Night Together" became an emblem of the Stones' bad boy image, uncompromising rebels who were always ready to push the boundaries. The Stones battled censorship on television, but another song prompted an investigation at a much higher level, a song whose danger lay in the fact that nobody could understand it. Number 6. Louie, Louie. The Kingsmen, 1963. This is one of the strangest and most humorous stories in the annals of rock and roll. The Kingsmen's garage rock smash hit was notoriously poorly recorded, with lead singer Jack Ely's vocals being almost completely unintelligible. This very incoherence sparked a nationwide moral panic. Parents, teachers, and even government officials became convinced that the slurred, mumbled words were hiding lyrics of the most obscene nature. The situation escalated to the point where the FBI launched a formal investigation that lasted for more than 2 years, trying to decipher the lyrics to see if the record violated laws against the interstate transportation of obscene material. In the end, their official conclusion was that the lyrics were unintelligible at any speed. Louie, Louie became the accidental anthem of rebellion, proof that sometimes a song's power isn't in what it says, but in what people think it's saying. From the rebellion of a cheap recording studio, we move to a much bigger stage, where a single act of defiance slammed the door on a band's relationship with American television forever. Number 5. Light My Fire. The Doors, 1967. Like the Rolling Stones, the Doors had their own fateful encounter with Ed Sullivan. The show's producers insisted they change the line. "Girl, we couldn't get much higher," as the word higher was an obvious reference to drug use. The band verbally agreed. But when the cameras went live, Jim Morrison, with a cool, reptilian defiance, sang the original line loud and clear. This act of insubordination got them banned from the show for life. But in that moment, the Doors defined their legacy. They weren't just a band. They were a dangerous, unpredictable, and untamable force of nature. The Light My Fire incident on Ed Sullivan became one of the most iconic moments in rock history, a declaration that art would not compromise for commercial pressure or phony morality. Let's pause here for a moment. These aren't just songs, they're time machines. Which song on this list transports you back to a specific memory? Share your story down in the comments. I truly would love to read them. Number 4. My Generation. The Who, 1965.
Just because we get
People try to put us DD down, just because we get around. Roger Daltrey's signature stutter wasn't a vocal tick, it was a statement. It was the sound of a generation struggling to find its voice in a society that refused to listen. The lyrics, especially the explosive closing line, "Hope I die before I get old," were a direct slap in the face to the establishment, a wholesale rejection of their parents' values. The BBC initially refused to play the song, but not, they claimed, for its rebellious content. Their official reason was that it might be offensive to people who actually stuttered, a transparent excuse to suppress the song's snarling attitude and violent energy. My Generation became the anthem for the mod movement in Britain and the sonic blueprint for the punk rock explosion to come. It's a sonic artifact of pure, unadulterated teenage anger, a defiant snarl that still echoes today. If My Generation was the angry voice of youth, our next song was a grim news report from the front lines, a chilling warning about a world on the brink. Number 3. Eve of Destruction, Barry McGuire, 1965.
Tell me over and over and over again.
Reportedly recorded in a single, raw take, with singer Barry McGuire reading the lyrics from a crumpled piece of paper, Eve of Destruction became the prophetic voice of a turbulent era. The song pulled no punches. It was a laundry list of the world's ills in 1965. The escalating war in Vietnam, the civil rights struggle in Selma, Alabama, and the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation.
Tell me over and over and over again.
This very directness is what made it so dangerous. Many American radio networks banned the song, claiming it was unpatriotic and damaging to the morale of the troops. Eve of Destruction was a cultural seismograph, recording all the tremors and anxieties of a divided America. It wasn't an easy song to listen to, but it was a necessary one, a reminder that sometimes the job of music is to hold up a mirror to society's ugliest truths. From a warning of global destruction, we return to the streets, where another band captured the violent, revolutionary spirit of one long, hot summer.
Tell me over and over and over again.
Number 2. Street Fighting Man, The Rolling Stones, 1968. In the summer of 1968, the world felt like it was on fire. From the student protests in Paris to the anti-war riots in America, a revolutionary fervor was in the air. And the Rolling Stones created the perfect soundtrack for that historic moment. Featuring an acoustic guitar riff recorded on an overloaded cassette player to achieve a raw, distorted sound, Street Fighting Man crackles with a ragged, urgent energy, like a news bulletin from the front lines. The song was immediately banned by many radio stations in the U.S. who feared it would incite further violence in an already volatile year. Mick Jagger's lyric is brilliant in its ambiguity. He's not calling for an overthrow, but lamenting his place in it all. But what can a poor boy do, except to sing for a rock and roll band? This captured the feeling of helplessness and the desperate yearning for action that defined a generation, making it a far more powerful statement than a simple call to arms. From the roar of the streets, we arrive at the pinnacle of studio artistry, a symphonic masterpiece band for a single, whispered invitation that redefined the boundaries of popular music. Number 1. A Day in the Life, The Beatles, 1967.
I read the news today, oh boy.
This isn't just the most controversial song on this list. It is one of the greatest artistic achievements of the 20th century. The grand finale to the Sgt. Pepper's album, A Day in the Life, brilliantly merges John Lennon's mundane newspaper clippings with Paul McCartney's nostalgic reverie, stitching them together with a terrifying, chaotic orchestral crescendo. But it was one simple phrase that got it banned by the BBC. I'd love to turn you on.
He blew his mind out in a car.
In the cultural context of 1967, To Turn You On was an unmistakable reference to initiating a drug experience. For the biggest band on the planet to embed such a message in their crowning masterpiece was an unforgivable offense to the establishment. The ban, however, only added to the song's mystique and power. A Day in the Life transcended censorship to become an immortal sonic artifact, proof of music's power to break all the rules, explore the depths of consciousness, and encapsulate an entire era in just over 5 minutes. And so our journey ends. 13 songs. 13 cracks in the facade of a changing society. They weren't just band tunes. They were maps, pointing directly to the fault lines of fear, control, and the yearning for freedom in the 1960s. They show us that music never was, and never will be, just entertainment. Now, I want to ask you, which song on this list redefined the word rebellion for you? And are there any other sonic artifacts you'd like me to unearth on our next trip? Thank you for traveling back in time with me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep exploring the forgotten stories of music. Until next time, keep listening.